Hi, and we're going to make the elf. So grab yourself a lime green 260 or whatever green you want to use. Inflate, leaving a generous tail of about 6-7 fingers. And we'll start then with making 2 small pinch twists. And these pinch twists are going to sit side by side like this. And this is going to be the hat, given up. So I'm going to come 3 fingers in and I'm going to fold it over. I'm going to twist the air out of that section, and then when I let go, the air rushes back in and it should give me a bend in the balloon like this. From that section then I'm going to come down about 4 fingers and twist. I'm going to hold that there while I come down about another 4 fingers. To make this bubble, and I'm going to hold that while I make a loop. This loop's going to be a full hand. Okay. And when I've done this, I'm going to feed the balloon through the loop, and the reason I'm doing that is so this stays where it is and it doesn't unravel on me. And then bring this back to that twist point, so I'll have 2 bubbles the same. And when I've done that, I can break it off. And I can either tie it, but I'm just going to bring it up and wrap it around and through that loop, and that'll pin that in place without me having to tie a knot. Okay, so that's what we've got. That's going to be the hat, this is going to be the back of the head, and this is going to be the loop we use for our body. So now we need a white 260. I've got my white 260, go ahead and inflate. We don't need all of this. Oh. So going to start then down here where this loop is. I'm going to hold the knot and rotate the balloon around, and when I've done that, I'm going to bring the balloon up and twist it around this point, and then back down to where we started. And this is going to make the eyes of our little elf. Okay, break off the remainder. You can save that for another project. And then rather than tie that into a knot there, I'm just going to bring it up and wrap it around there, and then lose it around the back of the eye. Okay, saves me having to tie another knot. So that is what we've got so far. Okay, once we've done that, we're going to get our blush 350, which makes the mouth section of our little elf. So grab a 350 or a 360. So I've got my 350, about halfway, no more. Give that a squeeze, make sure it's nice and soft. Start with a small pinch twist. And then I'm going to hold this pinch twist at the back. Oh, sorry, where the loop is. Hold it at the back of the loop and bring that all the way around, nice and tight, back into that pinch twist. So you see, that's what I've done. I've just wrapped it completely round into that pinch twist. We can break the remainder off. I'm going to tie these 2 ends together. We can trim them once we've tied them, and then with that pinch twist, I just push that underneath that knot, and it keeps that nice and tight. Okay, stops it from moving. Okay, so that's what we have so far. Okay, we need a red. I'm just going to put the top of this hat on just to keep it all nice and straight. So I'm going to get a red 260. So I've got my red 260. I'm going to inflate most of the way, leaving about hand's width, because it's also going to be used for the legs. So with this then, I'm going to make a small pinch twist. Give that a squeeze, and like we did with the mouth section, I'm going to hold the knot at the back, bring this around and back into that knot, wrap it around. I'm going to push that into where we've just tied. I'm going to break that off. I'm going to tie this immediately so it doesn't go down, and I'm going to set this to one place. I'll come back to this. These 2 ends, I'm just going to tie them together so I don't get any accidents. It doesn't undo. Make sure all the knots are at the back. We don't want to see any of the knots. So that's what you can see there. That's around the top of our hat. We are going to make legs with the remainder of this, and then what scrap we've got left, I'm going to make a little bubble for the end of his hat. Okay, so with the legs done, I'm going to make a pinch twist, and then I'm going to feed this through that loop. And again, we don't want the legs too big. We don't want this gap too big because it takes away that nice cute little look of them small legs. Wrap it around that pinch twist so it's nice and tight, and then come back, tie these two ends together so I don't have any unfortunate mishaps if I can find it. There we go. And with this, I'm just going to make a little bubble at the end. Squeeze that like that. Maybe even make it a bit smaller, like that. Tie it off. Give that a squeeze. I'm going to trim that so it's just the right size. And then I can push that into them two pinch twists and just wrap that in. Nice and tight. Now, what I do is I have one pinch twist at the front, one at the back. It kind of gives it a better look than that. Okay. And then just straighten that up so it looks. So I've got a black Tccc. I'm going to use this for the shoes. So about halfway, no more. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a loop of about 3 fingers. And the second one, make sure they're the same size. I'm going to break this off. I'm going to tie both these ends together, if I can find the other one, like so. Make sure they're nicely tight together. Grab our little Alf. Okay, and we've got that pinch twist at the bottom. All I'm going to do is wrap one of these loops around to lock it in place, and then bring them to the front like this. So now his feet are nicely locked in. That red pinch twist can go to the back just to make sure they sit nice and neat. You can fold the ends up slightly if you want, but you run the risk, especially with the black balloons, you run the risk of popping it. So now we need the arms. Okay, I'm going to do the mouth section last because what I make the mouth with I'm going to use for the hands, so I'll use that last. So grab a lime green 160. So I've got a lime green 160, about halfway. Now this lime green 160 is a slightly different shade, but it doesn't matter. It's 2 different brands, obviously. So I'm going to bring this out not too far, about like that. Just nice, cute, small arms. You can, if you wanted to, bring these arms around to the front and have it holding a gift or something. And out the opposite side like that. Break off. We don't need that, so I'm going to leave that for another project. I use all my scraps the best I can. I'm going to cut off the scrap. I'm going to leave a tiny bit there. I'm not going to cut it all off because we need to wrap the hands in. So for the hands, I make it nice and cute. I use a 160. I'm going to use that for the doopy mouth and just a couple of pinch twists for the hands. So grab a 160 blush. 160 blush. About halfway, I'm going to make 3 small pinch twists, like so. Then break that off. I'm just going to wrap this around them pinch twists just to lock that in place. I'm going to set that to one side. Come back, tie this, and do the same with this. So it's 1, 2, 3 small pinch twists. And the way I position them is just like that. 1 at the top, 2 either side. Break that off. I'm just going to wrap this around just to lock that in place. That's my second one to one side. And with this, I'm going to make that little mouth section. So it just needs to be a small loop, like so. I'm just letting the air escape till I've got enough balloon, like that. And then tie that together like this. So that's my small loop. It's not very big, just a bit bigger than a finger in width. I'm going to trim that. And can you remember the nose we made? Okay, I'm going to tie these two together, like so. And then trim off this long piece, we don't need it. So as you can see, there's only a small piece of scrap separating them. So when I push one through, it really pulls it down. Okay, so that nose I'm going to push up through into there. So be very careful. Just open that slightly, feed that through. And that should sit nicely like this for us. Like that. With the rest then, I'm going to make the hands. Wrap that in. Turn it around the correct way so you can see it, and it just sits on the end like that. Nice and simple stuff. Like that, okay? Very, very. Okay, so before we add our eyes, the remainder of that 160, I'm going to make some ears. So make a little pinch twist, okay? I'll wrap that around and tie it just so it doesn't undo, like this. And then make a small loop. And the loop's going to be about 3 fingers max, okay? Not too big. I'm going to grab our little Alf and I'm going to push this through one of the sides between the green and the white of the eyes, and then just wrestle this down towards the head so it sits like this on one side. And then when it pops out the opposite side, I'm going to twist and make a bubble, which I'm going to turn into a pinch twist. That sits on the opposite side, and we're just to look at our design and just guesstimate that loop. You want it to look the same. If it doesn't, just unwrap it, let a bit of air out, and just do it again. And once we're happy, break that off. And what I'm going to do is just wrap that around there a few times. And then lose the strap in the balloon. So yeah, quite fiddly. But I think it kind of adds to the whole design to have them ears, them big ears coming out the side. You can turn them sideways on if you want. I'm just going to leave them that way. Now we can add the eyes. So get the rest of that black scrap that you had from the feet, and we'll make the eyes. So I've got the rest of my black, which I used for the feet. I'm going to put some air into it. Just about 2-3 fingers, not too much. I'm going to start by making 2 small pinch twists, okay? And these pinch twists are going to sit side by side, so I want them the same size. And these are going to be like the pupils, okay, of our eyes, little black eyes. With the rest then, I'm going to trim off the end and let the air escape until I've got a very small bubble. And when I've got a small bubble, I'm going to tie around that like so. And then I can come back and trim all the remainder off, so we don't see any of that on our design. A piece there as well, get rid of that. So grab your little, oh, get rid of this long piece as well. So what we should have is our two pinch twists with a piece of spongy scrap and a little bubble there. So when we grab our little elf and we push this little bubble between the white and the green, it should hold it. Okay, so just open them up, push that behind, and then that should sit nice there for you. Now you can set it on the nose. I like to move that nose slightly forward and bring these down a tiny bit. Like that. So it's just sitting slightly behind that nose like that, okay? But it's entirely up to you, however you want to seat them. Don't forget you have got a bit of balloon going through there, so try not to interfere with that. And then it's just a matter of straightening it all up so it looks nice and cute and tidy. And that is our little elf. I've just lost a pinch twist there, so I'm going to replace that. So sometimes that happens. One of the bubbles went down. It's not a big deal. Just going to place that for a second. So. The remainder off and just wrap that around. So there we go. That's that hand replaced. All looks nice and tidy. Like so. All we need then for the artwork is I just draw a couple of dots onto each side as freckles. If you've got some, if you've got a pen and you want to do a little red dot and then with your finger rub that in while it's still wet to make it look like blush, like the cheeks are all rosy, you can do that. Some people use proper makeup, I don't know. But that's my little elf and I think it's really cool. It's great for a centerpiece. It's great for a big build that you've got. You can make these in 350s. You can even make them in 646s and have them dotted around the place and it would look really cool, really cartoony addition as well. So, hope you get some fun out of that. I want to see some designs that people have made in the comments below. That'd be really cool. And I hope you get some use.